Hello and welcome to Passion TV NG. I am Bassey Valentine. This is Catch Up, and I want to talk to Barrister Anietie Bassey. I think he would rather I address him as Anietie Bassey Esquire.
Beautiful.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, a few days ago, the governor made a speech. And part of the things he addressed was the kind of person we should have as governor of Akwa Ibom State come 2023. So we're on the streets and we're asking the question, in 2023, what kind of man or woman would you give your vote to as president of Nigeria? And then as president, as governor of Akwa Ibom State, what senator, what House of Reps member will get your vote, will get your nod, would get your support come 2023. So let's have this conversation. You're welcome to the show. Okay, so thank you for finding time to come.
My big pleasure, and I hope that at the end of today, we would have contributed to the length and breadth of the knowledge that will guide us on the issues we discuss.
So this is going to be an academic exercise, but with a lot of hope in making changes when necessary.
Okay.
Some mind reorientation, mind reconstructing.
Okay.
Is that even a thing? Is that possible? We have such conversations?
Of course.
Honestly, I've been wanting to ask this question. We sit and talk, we analyze, we bring up the issues and lay them on the table and just talk about them left, right, center. We dissect. We just do everything to the issues. Look at every side of every issue. Does it really bring development?
Yes, it does. It may not be in the short term, but in the long term it would. I love basing this perception of mine on the biblical thoughts that says that wisdom is profitable.
To direct. Okay.
So
we go to church. We are Sunday school people.
So if wisdom is profitable to direct,
we should spill wisdom.
And then the other biblical portion also say, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. So when you drop a thought in the streets, An informed thought.
A non-biased thought.
Objective thought.
Is there even a thing as objectivity when it comes to political issues?
We may not have it at the moment completely or perfectly, but what we're looking forward to having is to sensitize the minds of the people, reorientate the consciousness so that with time we'll have what we ought to have.
Okay, so there you have it. You have to listen, watch this, and get informed. Get a different perspective. Maybe what you're thinking is right, is accurate, but how about we listen to some other person's thoughts on the same issue? So back to the main gist. Who will have your votes come 2023? What kind of man, what kind of woman would have your votes come 2023?
The man or the woman who has prepared, who is sized with the capacity and influence to harness the economic and human capacity in Akwa Ibom State for robust development in all ramifications of our existence as human beings, and then also in Nigeria. Because taking stock of what we have too much to be called a developing economy. So we need these men who are trained, we need these women who are trained, who have the consciousness to be sincere in public office, who can be accountable for the mandates given, who would be empathetic to the plight of the people. These and many more would constitute the very man and the woman I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about a man from a particular locality.
Okay.
I am not. But I'm looking at the man who sees what the greater Akwa Ibom State would be, what the greater Nigeria should be, when we begin to compete our par in the Committee of Nation States. That's who I'm talking about. That's who will have my vote.
Okay, so I had to bring in the woman parts because I want to know, would you vote for a woman to be president, to be governor in this nation? You would?
With all sincerity, with all sincerity, I have come to realize how important it is to allow the women's participation in involvement, active involvement in politics, because over the period of time in other climes, women's involvement and participation in politics has eroded high level of performance in governance and successes. So if we begin to allow our women to be involved and participate in politics here, we would have shifted the paradigm from those stereotypes that hold us back. I am imagining, as a legal practitioner, that I have female colleagues who do give me a run for my knowledge because they too are trained.
Oh, yeah?
So, a woman has been allowed to be the chief judge of Akwa Ibom State.
Allowed?
Yeah, allow. I choose to say allow, not because she didn't qualify, but because those who found her in the moment realize that she's built with the capacity. So instead of conscripting her out as usually, they allow her. They shifted the space and gave her the audacity to take the moment. And she performed perfectly well.
So,
I could say that.
So this is a real struggle.
Sure.
A woman has to be good enough.
Sure.
And then she also has to now fight to enter through
Yes.
the door. Okay, so push these doors, push the glass ceilings.
The glass ceilings, shatter the glass
the
ceilings.
glass ceilings.
Yeah.
So the struggle is double for this gender. Because of what, really?
We call it the stereotypes. We call it the biases.
Okay.
In the sense that we prejudge a person without allowing the person to showcase, to express, to live out her capacity, her intelligence. So you just conclude. The local identities that reinforces these stereotypes.
Okay.
Even in folklores and folk tales, they are told from generation to generation. For
Yes.
instance, to foreclose a woman from her right to speak in the public, they simply say, "Da, pangudong, ke woman isi nanakayen." I say "Nanited." Simply means when things are wrong, you only sit down to scrub your feet on the floor instead of raising a hand and be recognized to speak up.
Okay.
So we've asked questions in forums, in meetings. I throw the question across to my male folks, and the question is, the 1 billion question is, imagine that you were born the other gender. Would you
Be satisfied.
sincerely say that the privileges and the prerogative that you're enjoying would have been in the same quantum? These are questions that CEOs, these are questions that political office holders,
Religious
the
fathers.
religious fathers have refused to answer. Simply because there's a portion in the Bible, I call it a classified center of male hegemony. 2 Timothy, I think 2:12, says, let the women learn in silence and in subjection.
Yes. And if
Please-
they have a question to ask, they should ask
Please,
their husbands
please,
back at
please,
home.
please, and please. I want to be quoted and I want to be proven wrong that when those Bible verses were written, that they were actually written by Christ. Don't tell me that Christ gave inspiration for it to be written, because the Bible is an assemblage of the culture of a people. In the prehistoric time, women were completely excluded from economic empowerment.
Yeah.
They were dependent, they were the ones who work in their husband's farm. So they didn't have the capacity to even be known. They were merely seen. Today, the shackles of these barriers are opening up. Our girls have been allowed to enroll in education. They are making and outpacing the men. And you don't still want to allow them, permit them, realize the need to involve them. So my position is, come 2023, that there are women in Akwa Ibom State who have, in their chosen career, stand out perfectly well, capable to lead Akwa Ibom as a governor. And if such a woman rises up her hands to step out, I will work for her. It's going to be a tough moment, because what we have, the campaign we are having to shift the paradigm, will not be understood by the male chauvinists. We have them all around. Simply because nobody wants to shift. You don't want to let go of the privileges and take a burden. So they say, oh, you're going to erode our cultural practices. And the question is, what is culture, if I may ask? Culture, I was told in secondary school, is a total way of life of the people. So who are the people? Whose total way of life? Who constructed the total way of life of the people?
This
we
particular social construct,
yes.
construct has,
Yes.
has been here for time immemorial.
Immemorial
But-
can be traced.
Yeah, true, it can be traced. But then again, when we still go back to the scriptures, Proverbs 31 says a lot about a particular woman.
Yes.
And it seems to demand a lot for a woman, from
Okay.
a woman.
Yes.
And you lay that side by side what Timothy says, learn
Beautiful.
in silence,
Silence.
do in silence, be subjected. So it feels like the Bible on one hand says, woman, you got it all, just go out there and be all that. Then on the other side it says, hold it down, put it together, just memin. You know, it's like, but that's it.
The same thing we're saying.
So now I want to ask, I don't know if you or you would answer this question.
Okay.
If a woman does come out and
Okay.
says, I want to be governor of Akwa Ibom State,
Okay.
will fellow women rise in support of this?
The women will. Let me say this. Over the period of time, the male counterparts have developed a philosophy of women are their problem.
Yeah, that
Women
line.
are their fellow women's problem. This is how it works against the woman. I have a daughter and a male child. I will always encourage us to take the story back to where the family begins, or where the society begins,
Which is the family.
the smallest unit of the society, which is the family. So I am a byproduct of a harsh stereotypes that women are what to be at the backyard, they are supposed to work in the farm, they should be subjected. And then God blesses me with male and female children. I would pass those same stereotypes to these children, making
And
the
they'll grow
girl
with
child,
it.
never encouraging her that she can be a leader, never encouraging movies, books that shows non-traditional roles and chores at home. So she grows up not to see herself as a leader, while my son grows up to see himself as a leader. When my son makes demeaning comments about his sister, I do not rise to strike against that. Rather, I encourage the sister to apologize to the brother, because the brother is built to be the leader. So this, she grows up. So she compares her notes with other girl child from other family and
Who's
realizes
probably
that
having the same training.
same thing, and realize that this is our culture. Women cannot lead. So from one girl to the second girl to third girl to 100 girls to thousands of women,
girls,
they
and it
grew
just
up
continues.
with this philosophy of a woman cannot lead. The male now take chances and exploit these barriers that were inculcated to them. So it plays out in the
And they
larger
take it to the
society.
very far limits.
Yes. They go to church. The church drums it deeper into their soul that you are supposed to be a subordinate at all times. When
Helpmates.
a woman is called, it simply means that she to have a picture of who a woman is that silent being, that subjective being, that accommodating being.
They want to be seen and not heard.
Who does not speak out, who takes all that is given and asks for none. That's who the woman is seen to be. So she grows up, otherwise you'll be called stubborn.
Yes. And then in our climb, you would be termed the angry feminist.
Yes, so like I said, if they even call you angry feminist, it'll be fine. I call those ones who don't even know the value, because I am not trying to erode some values that are very objective.
Yeah.
The roles that nature created are in existence. In a family, the wife knows her role, the husband knows his role. Those ones that God gave were very unique, and they
Sacrosanct.
they lead to the satisfaction and successes of homes.
Yeah.
You get it? But the one the society ascribed to people simply because they were born male or female is what we're talking about as
Which
the
is,
variables.
according to your words,
Yes.
an accidental discharge.
Accidents. We are chromosomes that are made by accident to come as a boy or as a girl.
Okay.
So I was not there at the point of conception to determine what I'll be when I come into existence.
Oh, yeah?
So what I'm saying is that the women would support their fellow women if only we, the men, begin to realize that it is no use, it doesn't bring us no successes, no complete stories to continue to barrier them by drumming those stereotypes into their ears.
Yeah, that women are their problems.
That women are their problems. I know that there are women that their husband cannot even allow them to get to any meeting, so that they will not go to be educated to come home and confront them.
Confront?
Yeah, that's what they will call confront.
Okay.
But I call it a discussion. I encourage the women to discuss.
Yeah.
Nobody should carry arms. The About Women Riot, the Korobasi, should be Korobasi, not Aba.
Thank you for making that correction.
Yes, it's a Korobasi Women Riot.
We'll have that
not
conversation
Aba.
another
Yes.
day.
If they didn't stand up, things wouldn't have changed.
Have been like
yes.
that.
So the women can support their fellow women in 2023.
Well, in the words of Joe Tubaz that I had on the show, he said that if she can rock the cradle, then she can definitely handle the world.
Sure.
Lead this state, lead this nation.
Sure.
She can do that. But let's rewind.
Okay.
Of recent, side chick stabbed sugar daddy to death. That's putting it out exactly
the way it is.
It was reported.
Okay.
And she did confess, you know.
Okay.
A little girl is running a campaign she calls Raise Them Queens.
Okay.
And one of the lines in her thoughts was that a queen doesn't pick up arms to harm.
Okay.
And that a queen, a woman, is not supposed to be
violent
and that she's one that gives life.
Okay.
And so she's not supposed to take life. Actually, no human is supposed to take life except when the law is involved and you do a crime where you get to do the time.
Okay.
How do you feel about that conversation? Let's begin with Chidinma, 21-year-old, stabbing the rich CEO and murdering him.
I will, without judging the deceased, but I'm going to make these comments for those of us who are alive.
Yeah, we need the lessons to live on.
If the words kindness begets kindness, it simply would also mean that maturity should look for maturity.
Yes, sir.
Birds of the same feather, they say, flocks together. So birds of this within the same affinity, they will go together.
What was a 50-year-old doing
with a 21-year?
What were they talking about? What was the source of connection?
I don't know if you ask.
That's not okay.
So
I'll allow you.
So the trouble is about what the society allows to roll. If the 50-year-old man sits out with the 21-year-old girl in the pub, nobody will ask them why they are there, because they are called sugar daddy and the side chick. But the story for the society is that these practices is eroding the value system. I think an older man of that nature, away from being responsible and responsive to his marriage, owes the society a duty to have molded and mentor and sponsor that girl, rather than finding himself in a closet where his life was endangered. Now, a girl of 21 years has almost no experience.
I'm sorry, people would argue that at 21 she's an adult. I mean,
she is an adult. She's an adult. Adult in terms of mental capacity to construct, and like you said, a queen don't raise arm.
To harm.
Yes. It's experience that has molded every other matured person by virtue of wisdom, because why wisdom works is knowing what action to take at what time. So Chidinma at 21, following a story that the man wanted to come on her again the second time or the third time, I asked someone recently, I'm like, if she was a matured lady, knowing that she took herself in there, in law we say voluntaire non-fit injuria.
Oh, also.
Akobokama, when you walk yourself into a hotel room to meet a man, there's an expectation from both of you. Within the confines of civility, you're expected to cooperate with each other. But when it gets out, assuming the late CEO actually, in truth, there to violate her. But the story do not join. Pleading and giving you ATM card is a way a man talks to a woman. Yes. So you collected the ATM card and still go ahead to hurt.
Went ahead to hurt him.
Not just one stab, several, multiple. So that makes it premeditated. Self-defense in law is an existing defense that would limit the capacity or the length and breadth of punishment that you would deserve, would limit it or reduces it. Will reduce it from murder to manslaughter. Manslaughter doesn't mean you walk out of the court. It means you'll be convicted for manslaughter and be sentenced to a year's term of imprisonment. Whereas if it was convicted for murder, you will die by hanging. So for Chidinma and ex or now late side man, or yes, into was a side man.
Okay.
Yes.
They
were unduly yoked. They
Oh,
were unduly yoked.
okay.
He expected cooperation from a little girl. Whether you want to tell me that she possesses the experience that a girl of 30, 31 would have, I would still, for my personal consumption, I will doubt that. Because as she grows up, she would have realized that, okay, if my mind is not satisfied, what do I do more?
Well, there are stories that has come out, and people are saying that Chidinma threats in this kind of things, that she's done a similar thing before,
Okay.
and stuff like that. But I'll wrap up this conversation with a few thoughts to everyone out there. If the married man decided to stay true to his marital vows, he would still be alive today. If this single girl, this 21-year-old girl, decided to mind her purpose, be in school, become a woman of value, contributing to society and its development, she wouldn't be in the news for the wrong reasons, and her life wouldn't take the nosedive that it has taken right now.
Simple.
It's a lesson for all of us, and I'll leave the judging to who feels like judging, and I'll leave the lessons for those who feel like taking the lessons. That'll be it on this part. Thank you. If you have comments and questions, you please drop it here. We'll attend to them when we show back. Thank you. The governor of Akwa Ibom State, Governor Dom Emmanuel, already started the conversation on 2023. So we're just continuing. And so the question now is, as it is going to be attempted by Anietie Bassey, Esquire, and others, we're all asking, what kind of person will not get your vote come 2023? Let's list the bad things that you don't want to see in this kind of leader. Okay, you're welcome. Let's do this. Who you know go vote for come 2023? Talker, as it be.
It's important that we have this discussion.
Yes, very.
So let me bear my mind.
Please do.
About who won't have my vote. Akwa Ibom said that where we are, and Nigeria at large where we are, is in need of visionary leaders. Economically, we see how harsh ours has been. Security-wise, we see how life has become brutish and short.
Brutish?
Yes.
Short.
And short. We're living almost like in the wild. You don't know what the next moment brings.
And we're getting comfortable with the number of deaths that's reported.
So now we report numbers of deaths.
60-something died, and we just moved past it.
So
we're no longer really sad about it.
So the leader that I will not vote for is that leader that do not give a thought, conscious thought, to enhancing humanity. What do I mean?
Yes.
In politics, you must know that the end of politics is humanity. Your programs, your policies should be towards that which will drive the attainment of the collective aspiration of the people. And what do the people want? All we want from our government, all this one our government has been ignoring us and causing us to go and embark on strikes. All we're looking for from them is just a decent shot to life. Come with the influence and knowledge that you have, that we feel that you have. Manage our resources, harness it so that we can collectively grow. God has blessed Nigerians, has blessed Akwa Ibom people with a very large spectrum of knowledge when it comes to our ability to create and procreate and manufacture. But so, our leaders has limited us mostly through their selfish and greedy policies. So we're not looking for a greedy leader come 2023, both for Akwa Ibom and for Nigeria. And we're not looking for a despot.
What is a despot?
A despot is I will call him a tyrant. You feel you are the Lord, so you don't consult, you do not discuss, you don't take the views of people into collection before taking an action.
Counsel, are you saying that currently we're experiencing tyranny and despotism?
I can go down for this.
Yes.
1,001 actions of government, both in the state and in the federal, showcases characteristic tyranny. I said policies in the state and in the federal has shown that there are elements of tyranny. When a government wakes up to take an action, we have the State House of Assembly, we have the ESCO. Both the ESCO and the State House of Assembly are not a part of the policy of government. They are only marshaled to take those actions. So it comes only from the governor or the president. Whereas in a democratic setting, the essence of democracy, building up the three arms of government, was simply so that they should act as checks and balances for themselves. The House of Assembly exists mainly for the purpose of ensuring that the executive do not act like a leviathan. They are supposed to be checked to ensure that budget appropriation cater for what would bring succor to the people. In Akwa Ibom State, we are still in need of infrastructural development as well as economic emancipation. But so, unfortunately, we do not have an economic plan. We don't have economic plan, to the best of my knowledge. Because if we have, economic plan simply would be, what are we looking at the next 15 years for Akwa Ibom? This should have been, from a town hall meeting, a collective minds of the people, the leaders, the stakeholders, the stalwart, who are trained in diverse areas of professionality to come and say, okay, with what we have, let us build towards this. When one governor steps out after his 8 or 4 years, another one that comes in must take up, because government should be continuum. You should continue from when your predecessor stops. So, but unfortunately, the way politics is played in Nigeria, when I come, my tenure is my tenure, it's not your own. Whatever you had done priorly, I don't want to look at it. I look differently. So when I said I will only vote for a visionary leader, it is high time we call our leaders to question. Let us know what they have for the state. And then they should also take into consideration our own critics. When we say, Oga, what you're bringing to the table is not feasible because of the time limit you have in office or because of the likely finance that we will have, the governor should, find a time to fine-tune this. Okay. Mr. Udo Emmanuel came with industrialization policy. We did not sit down as a people to be told in detail what it's all about. So today, when they do the toothpick industry, a few will clap. Some of us will not clap because I cannot clap with bare stomach. I don't want a philanthropist who will order for the supply of toothpick in time of famine. So we have pencil industry. I have not seen it to buy it for my daughter in Akwa Ibom State School. I don't know where they are sold. But the aviation industry has done well there. We are seeing the aeroplane to fly with. I don't want to bother about who owns it, who doesn't own it, the question that has been in the streets. But so that it's there, I learned a few of Akwa Ibom people are also employed. That is fine and good. I can critically say with the club that the Jubilee syringe is working. Jubilee syringe is working perfectly well, just that in the area of the network we don't know. It has never been told how much they make. But in terms of production, Jubilee syringe produces up to about, I think, 1 million syringes every day. They have that capacity, and they've employed a very large number of workers. You get it? So Jubilee syringe is working. This way is personal thought about what he wants and thinks about industrialization. So I have always believed if he had taken other people's view into consideration. I know it's difficult. Leadership is very tough. People come with their private interests. You won't know that beyond the very paper aboard, there are secrets beneath that they want to lure you. So I know the governor is circumspect when it comes to that. But so in the agricultural area, a lot needs to be done. Not just selling cup of garis at the secretariat. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a robust involvement of the farmers, the support, the subsidy will
Real
come.
farmers, not political
Real
farmers.
There is nothing like a political farmer. If you are not a farmer,
Yeah.
you are not a farmer. Leave that going to carrying a cassava stem in high loxes, and you pass on the street and pictures are snapped that Mr. A politician is going to the farm. No, we have large acres of land beyond here that government should be detailed. If the Akwa Ibom State government goes into planting of palm, do you know that we import palm oil to Nigeria? As much as we feel that we are producing.
Wow.
We import palm oil. We've not produced enough for our use.
Okay.
I learned recently we are going to be importing gari. China is making gari and packaging it back to us. Who owns cassava? So these are the areas that will bother ourselves. We don't want those. Recently, you see, because of how government has behaved, we now call most of their project audio projects. I will not vote for a person who I suspect will come with audio projects. I will vote for a candidate whose track record has shown that he is practically in the little he wants to do. Don't have a large number of agendas. Have a few that touches the life of the common man in Akwa Ibom State, the street boys in Akwa Ibom State. We should have a governor that feels our pulse to know that Akwa Ibom State is a civil service state. So how do we divert the interest from just being civil service to a production? The production do not need to be in trillions, but let us start in thousands so that with time it can multiply. With
You want a homegrown governor?
Let him be homegrown, autochthonous, and let him come from Uyo Senatorial District. Microscopically, let the governor come from Ibiono E2, Federal Constituency 26. Because the Uyo, when we talk about Uyo, other part has had it. That's a convention for now. I see how you're looking. Wow, I have a private interest here. And then it's high time. What is source for the goose is source for the gander. Ikodekbena had theirs. Iked is having. Uyo should have. But I'm saying when it comes to Uyo, the rotational governance builds trust. We have been supporting. Yes, the Ibiono E2 has been supporting. It's high time we look for just a little curtain open, let us go in. We'll make a difference. I'm not calling anybody's name. From the locality I'm talking about, we have a lot of them. Shining records. Let opportunity be given. Let us see what will also contribute to the table. And the track record would be what we should be mindful of.
Okay, so
yes.
let's do that microscopically again.
Okay.
You said the rotational government
Yes.
builds trust.
Yes, it builds trust.
Okay, it should come to your senatorial district.
First.
And then microscopically.
It should come to Ibiono E2.
And
Yes.
then you want to go further into
No, let it come
mini-
let it come to Ibiono E2 so that I won't be over partial here. Between the two Ibiono, we have,
2023.
by virtue of what I've trained myself to be, I am eligible to contest even for the governor. What's the age bracket? I'm qualified.
Okay.
Yes, I'm qualified.
Okay.
If you give me the support I need, when they say politics
So do you have
campaign
a
is,
group that is supporting something?
I'm working, I'm networking.
Okay.
I'm working and I'm networking.
We shall be back to that conversation.
So thank you so much about that. That's a couple of indices I expect from he who will come to Governor Akwa Ibom. The governor that will listen to House of Assembly and don't make them a rubber stamp, or whether they call themselves iron stamp sometimes ago. Let them be the House of Assembly that will iron stamp.
The will of the people.
Yeah, the will of the people. Objective and practical policies of government should be iron stamped. So I am not looking for a mediocre, but I'm looking for a visionary leader who is not emotional, empty emotions, and telling me stories that I can understand.
Do you have an international email address?
It was good. I gave a nod to when the governor said we should call in someone who has an international email. The world is global. I don't want a leader, when I said it should come from the homegrown. The world is global and doesn't limit an homegrown to be a local man. I'm not looking for a local man, a man who has not added premium to himself. That's not who I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a tout. I'm not looking for a big shoulder man who do not have value for human lives. That's not who I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a bravado. I'm not looking for a bravado. Those who just believe in the physical strength, and when we are plenty, we can ambush them and impose our will on them. I'm looking for a critical thinker. I'm looking for someone who has network. When we talk about public and public-private partnership, a local man who do not have a connection outside of Akwa Ibom will not be able to attract direct investment. You get it? So the governor was right in asking, whosoever wants to take over, you should have an international email. Your email should be recognized. It shouldn't be the one until you become a governor, they will go to open an email for you, or you turn the iPad upside down, so you look for a way to ban Twitter. I'm not looking for that kind of a governor. We're looking for a governor who knows that Twitter, who knows that Instagram, who knows that Facebook, who knows that LinkedIn exists for business projections. That's the governor we're looking at, who also know that with time, we do not need to be carrying naira in our pockets, that we should shift our economy to cashless economy for good. That's who we're looking at, so that we'll be able to compare and relate with other governors in the international space. So he was right. Beyond that, I don't know what he meant. In the ordinary, he was right.
So what kind of president would you like to have? Do you like the one that bans Bitcoin and Twitter, like you were saying?
The president, I want to have one president now, the one that do not have presidency and the president. The Aso Villa was built to accommodate the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and then the institution called president, whether it's called presidency, should be manned by the president. The lieutenants who are working for the office of the president should not be on their own, while the president is on his own, not knowing what is going in the presidency, so that presidency now doles out policies that is in contradistinction to the manifestos of the president. So the man who wants to be the president of Nigeria does not need to be a past military head, but it should be a technocrat with value, whose track record, nationally and internationally, cuts beyond ethnicity, cuts beyond nepotism, to realize that value should be added to the constitutional provisions when we talk about spreading of appointments. The man shouldn't look because he cannot see beyond where he grew up. So he shouldn't also be a local man who was bred up in one locality, who never crossed the Niger to the other part of the federation. Like my colleague in law school told me that Niger State is bigger than the entire of Niger Delta. Niger State, he said, is bigger than the entire of Niger Delta. And I'm like, have you been out of Niger State before? He said, must he need to be? That my friend, that my colleague cannot be the president of Nigeria. He needs to traverse to realize that it's not the landmass, but because the people is who is Nigeria. He should be a man with patriotism to realize that together we stand, divided we fall. When they talk about in South Africa, they talk about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is that I am because you are. So you don't behave as if you own the country. None of us own the country. We should talk about a man who do not allow infiltration of people who don't have value to life. That's the man who shouldn't begin to tell us that we should go back to the 1974 and build Ruka and allow animals to traverse my business premises. That's not the man I'm looking for. I'm looking for a man who knows that private businesses should not be used to subjugate other people's rights. That's the president we're looking for. The president who realizes that it's not just in giving orders, but showing by example, who is empathetic, who honors his officers.
Would you like a president that travels out of the country to receive
medical
care?
treatment? No. I need a president who will build the Aso Villa Hospital and other hospitals in Nigeria to be of standard, because it takes nothing except goodwill. We have doctors outside of the country who are flown in here time after time to carry out medical expertise. Why can we build our hospitals and get it equipped? The guys are even ready to sell or even to donate this equipment, but that we don't want to take. We want to capital flight at all times on medical trips. I don't need a sick president all the same. I'm not saying a president shouldn't be sick, but he shouldn't have sickness as one of his prerogative. I am sick at all times, so I cannot give a broadcast when people are protesting. And when people are protesting, they now marshal in police and army to shoot and kill them. That's not the president I'm looking for. That's not the president. Who will come after me because I'm airing this opinion? That's not the president. Whose attorney general would attend a function and tell me that my fundamental right can be suspended because the state want to act? I need a president who honors the courts, who honors the judiciary, and allow them to give a life to the constitutional provisions. I need a president that consults widely. That's the president I want, who allows in his cabinet involvement of women. That's the president I'm looking for.
In education?
In education, I need a president who don't just give order for the building of polytechnics across the federation, but who actually shows that the byproduct of education has value to add to the development of the country by not killing those ones who are educated. So the president should practically look for a way, because there are always ways, to partner with foreign countries to ensure that we don't just take loan to build roads.
And maybe you would like a president that uses trillions of naira to build railways outside the country.
We do not have, Nigeria is a sovereign state. Nigeria, whether you like it, in the Committee of Other Nations, has first responsibility to Nigeria. The patriotism of the president of Nigeria should be towards Nigeria first, before the global war. So we do not have the responsibility of building rail lines out of the country first to Niger Republic, simply because the president may have had a relationship there. But so within the country Nigeria, the president should rather build the railway system across to ease our economic endeavors. And then if need be, if we must go out, we now build. So charity should begin at home.